What's going on, everybody? DStyleBoxing here. Thanks for those joining me live and to those that'll be joining me on archive. You know, a couple things, just a couple things here. Robin Black, right? He's still going on and on and on. And he's taking things that have very simple explanations, very simple, and he's overanalyzing it, in my opinion. Okay. He's still on this whole disruption thing. Oh, I'm going to cause disruption. Oh, disruption this, disruption that. I get the point. Okay. The point is basically, in a nutshell, Conor couldn't come in and fight conventional against Floyd. He would get destroyed that way. He had to find holes in boxing and try to do things that is not conventional and you never seen in boxing and catch Floyd off guard and beat him that way, right? That's basically, in a nutshell, okay, what he's trying to say. And I get it. And it was a hypothesis. And in the end, it was wrong. You know, in the end, it didn't work. In the end, in all reality, I came out thinking if they fought 10 times, Floyd would win 10 times. That's basically it. I mean, it's at the end of the day. But a couple things. So the idea is that disruption comes from an outside source, and McGregor was that outside source. He was going to come in and just completely disrupt boxing and what's conventional in boxing by being unconventional in such a way, by using tools and knowledge that he acquired from MMA, basically. Okay. A couple of things that he's just flat out wrong about. Okay, just flat out wrong about. All right, so number one, okay, and you guys can look them up if you want. I mean, they're pretty long videos. They're interesting, you know, but it's a lot of it is just wrong. A lot of it is just wrong. Okay, I mean, first of all, he says that, according to Mr. Black here, that if you go through boxing history, that wrestlers have always, or wrestling has always disrupted boxing, right? Well, first of all, wrestling and boxing, okay, have a link. Like the more back you go in history, okay, the more you can link wrestling to boxing. In fact, before the Marquess of Queensberry rules, you were able to wrestle, especially if you go, you know, before the London Prize rules. Okay, wrestling was a part of boxing. Okay, a lot of old school boxers, and by old school I mean early 1900s, you know, they were doing a lot of grappling and wrestling in training regimens. Okay, if anything, as boxing evolved, it got more far removed from that. Okay, and I think what you have now in inside fighting is what it definitely evolved from over the years, using the rules that exist in boxing. Okay, that's basically what we ended up with. Okay, the inside fighting that we see today. And what I do believe, that it is a lost art, inside fighting. It really is. All right. Mr. Black here is wrong about random wrestlers just showing up and disrupting the game. Okay, that's simply not true. All right. I kind of see what he's trying to cite here, but that's simply not true. All right. But anyway, okay, let's back up a little bit. Right. A couple of things I wanted to address about what he said. First of all, Mr. Black here, okay, Robin Black takes something extremely simple and he tries to overanalyze it. So number one, Conor taking Floyd's back, right? Now, if you guys remember, when I first started talking about this fight, and I started telling everybody, okay, that Conor's going to have a very hard time adapting to the constant restart that is boxing. Okay, in pro boxing, there is a constant restart and reset. right? And that's basically what that was. And I have two ways to prove it. Number one, okay, Conor McGregor himself said it. He said he wasted a lot of energy, okay, in going to the back of Mayweather, because all that would cause was for the ref to break it up, and they would reset the match. Okay, so I talked a lot about, you know, stop, break, box, stop, break, box, stop, break, box. That is just boxing, right? There is a constant restart, okay, in when it comes to boxing, okay? You're constantly restarting and you're constantly resetting, right? Well, what he could do on the inside is very limited. It has to be done very quickly, and then you're constantly restarting over and over and over again. So you have to watch what you're doing on the inside. You have to make sure that what you're doing on the inside is beneficial. What you're doing on the inside makes sense. What you're doing on the inside, all right, is hurting your opponent. So according to Robin Black, okay, Conor McGregor was attempting disruption by taking the back of Mayweather and hoping Mayweather could try to fight off of that, but Mayweather just, he just covered up and he didn't allow the disruption. No, it's real simple. You don't take the back of an opponent in boxing. All right, like that's just not something you do. All right, you don't hammer fist an opponent in the back of the head. Like that's against the rules. You don't do that, right? Now, Robin Black argued, well, why not? I mean, he got away with it. He did it enough times that he never got penalized for it. True, he never got penalized for it. But what did it do? It caused him to use unnecessary energy. It was ineffective, right? It was extremely ineffective. All that energy he used to take the back, all that energy he used hammer fisting, it was ineffective. It never hurt Floyd. So I don't understand where this whole disruption thing is coming from. You should have expected constant break in the action and restart, break in the action, restart, break in the action, restart. That's something Conor's not used to. He's not used to that. How is it that I knew that before, but Robin Black didn't know that? Okay. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't understand that there's constant breaks, but he's acting like it's so fascinating what Floyd did, that Floyd wouldn't do anything when he would take us back and they would break the action. Well, you should know that. That is common sense. Like that's not something like Floyd didn't do something extraordinary. A dude's hammer fisting in the back of the head, the ref's gonna break it up. Like it's common sense. Like it's not that difficult. It's not that hard. The only disruption was the ref disrupting. That's it. That was the only disruption in the fight. Break it up. Go. Box. Break it up. Go. Box. Take a step back. Take a step back. Box. There's that constant restart in boxing. Boxing is a constant simulation. Constant. It doesn't stop. Okay? Two guys, they start off on the outside. They box, and then eventually they get broken up, and it's restarted all over again. It's a constant. That keeps happening. That's why a ref is necessary, okay, in the ring in boxing. A ref is far more necessary in boxing than in MMA. You don't really need a ref in MMA. Okay, you really only need a ref in MMA to stop a fight. That's the only real reason you need a ref. Okay, to enforce a couple of rules. Okay, that's basically it. But sometimes they'll stand guys up because it's also a business and they don't want just dudes laying on top of each other, laying and praying or whatever. But in all reality, it's not necessary. They really don't need a ref. In boxing, you need a ref, right? And this proves it, right? So in an actual like street fight, right? If you take a dude's back, then that guy's in trouble, right? There's no doubt about it, right? But in boxing, that is a waste of energy because the ref is going to break it up, right? In a real fight, when guys start throwing punches and it ends up in a clinch, that fight's going to eventually end up either in the ground or something, right? You're not going to complete a boxing match. A boxing match is impossible to complete without a referee. It's impossible to do it. If there was no referees in a boxing match, you cannot complete a boxing match, right? You just can't do it. If there was no ref to break it up each time guys get tangled up or are holding on the inside, if there wasn't a ref to break that action, you cannot complete a boxing match. Okay, it's highly unlikely that two guys are going to go in, just throw fists, and then when they end up in a clinch, just both agree to unclinch and then start boxing again. That's not going to happen. You need a ref to give an order to stop and have you take a step back and then say box, or give the gesture to box. You need that in boxing. Period. Okay, that is absolutely necessary. I cannot think of any boxing match that I've watched on TV for a decade. Okay, I cannot think of one that you could have completed without a ref being involved. You need a referee in boxing to complete a boxing match. Okay, you just do. You need a ref to say, hey, stop that. Hey, stop. Break it up. You need an authority figure to put orders or give the orders and to force the boxing action to continue. All right? That is absolutely necessary. Even if the ref isn't stopping, the ref is still there monitoring what's happening. A ref is still there. Even he tells them, fight off of the clinch, fight off of it. He's still giving orders. That is still happening. So that, if you don't know that, then you don't understand boxing. All right. So if you get, like, let's put it this way, there are two different worlds. If you get two boxers, right, any two boxers, I don't care who they are, and there's no ref in the ring to give orders, right, and they start boxing, right? Let's say they start on the outside, they're trying to establish jabs. They know the rules, right? They understand the rules, right? But then what happens when they get tangled up? If there's no one there to say stop, what happens? If no one's there to say stop, if no one's there to give an authority figure to tell them what to do, what happens? Well, a lot of things can happen, but it would unravel. It would eventually unravel into something that looks nothing like boxing. That fight would unravel before our very eyes. Now, if you get an MMA fight, you put two guys in the cage, right? And then you have them fight, and there's no ref in the ring. You can complete that MMA fight. It can be completed. You don't need a ref. Well, now, is it possible that one guy gets on top of the other and then there's very little action? Sure, but it's still an MMA fight. You don't really need a ref. It's not really necessary, right? Now, obviously we know, and I mean to complete the MMA fight is what I'm saying. Will it be dirty? Will guys break the rules? In both cases, yes. Okay, I'm just saying that in one case, it would unravel into something completely different. It will no longer be a boxing fight. In an MMA fight, will guys start headbutting and eye gouging and shit? Is that possible? Of course, they'll be breaking the rules, but it would still be an MMA fight. And that is the difference. Okay, in boxing, there's a constant reset. And the fact that Conor McGregor was using so much energy to put himself in positions that would benefit him if there was no constant stop of the action like we know that there's in boxing. Because that's what he was doing. He was wasting energy doing unnecessary things that were not effective. That's at the end of the day, that's what happened. At the end of the day, that's what happened. That there's nothing genius about it. If anything, it's dumb. If anything, how could they not know that you cannot do those certain things? There is an art form to fighting on the inside. There is an art form to that. Okay? It's not, you cannot do something blatant like take a dude down. You can't do a takedown. You cannot do these obvious things. They're very subtle. Conor was not doing anything subtle. He was just wasting a lot of energy, a lot of unnecessary energy. Well, what does he think was going to happen when he took his back? Well, what did he think was going to happen? Do you think like Floyd's going to start grappling with him and go for a takedown? What do you think is going to happen? Now, Tim Black says that the rules are just illusions. The rules are not illusions, okay? The rules are rules. You follow the rules, okay? Now, can you bend the rules? Of course, you bend the rules as much as you can to not get a point deducted, okay? You bend the rules as much as you can. If you can get away with something, you do it. That's common sense. There's nothing disruptive about bending the rules. Like everybody's always known that, right? But if you're quote unquote bending the rules to a point where it becomes ineffective, then that's not disruption, okay? Then that's not effective. That's just and it's not effective, right? Hammer fisting, okay, in boxing is just not an effective move. Okay, there was nothing effective about it. Okay, all it did was make the ref break the action. That's all it did. Now, if Conor would have, instead of taking Floyd's back, and he knew how to do inside boxing, and he would have maybe grabbed one of Floyd's arms and trapped it, and started throwing punches with the other hand, maybe he could have gotten off 2-3 punches to the body before the ref said break. Before the ref said stop. Now, is he capable of doing that? Who fucking knows? Because all the dude was doing is taking the back and punching in the back and doing hammer fists, wasting energy. That's all he was doing. The only disruption is the ref. That's it. That's the only fucking disruption in boxing. Stop, break, box. Stop, break, box. Without those instructions, we don't have a boxing fight. Without stop, break, box, there is no boxing. You cannot complete a boxing fight without those instructions. A third man is absolutely necessary for a boxing fight to even be possible. Stop, break, box. Or stop, take a step back, box, right? Now, why was Bird saying take a full step back? Why was he saying that? Because somebody, Conor, didn't understand that. You're supposed to take a step back. All right? You have to do that. Now, one will say, well, he doesn't have to. The ref let him get away with it several times. Well, all it's doing, okay, is causing a disruption to the action. That's all it's doing. Right? Now, I did watch the video, and I watched it in parts, and it's just, he's overanalyzing it, I believe. In my opinion, he's overanalyzing what happened. Like, it's not that difficult to see what happened. Okay. I believe Conor did bring like something different to the table. I do believe that he wanted to use awkwardness, if that's what you want to call it, to maybe give Floyd some problems there, give him maybe some angles he's never quite seen before, give him a look he's never seen before, and see if maybe that catches Floyd so off guard that he gets the win. But it didn't happen. It just didn't happen. Like that did not occur against a smaller man that he outweighed by 20 pounds. You know, you have to wonder if you're there to disrupt and you're there to be the big man and outmuscle Mayweather, why would you allow Mayweather to back you up? Because you cannot push in boxing, okay? I mean, you can do it, but the ref's going to tell you, hey, don't do that, okay? So when you do it, again, this is called bending the rules. When you do it, you got to make sure that when you use that energy to push, that it's at a time that makes sense, because there is a bandwidth. There's only so much tolerance the ref's going to have before he says, hey, you do that again, I'm going to take away a point. So in a 12-round span, you don't want to just push just for the sake of pushing. You don't want to do it just to do it. You want to do it when it makes sense, okay? Now, the reason I say that is, let's use our common sense for a little bit. While you can shove and push in boxing, you can do it and maybe be told, hey, don't do that, right? And eventually it reaches the point of, hey, stop doing that. Hey, I told you to stop. Hey, you do it again, I'm going to take away a point, right? But what I'm trying to say is, since you're not allowed to push, okay, it's against the rules, right? There's only two ways an opponent can back up, aside from pushing them, and that's very limited to, in a 12-round fight, how many times you can do that before a ref gets tired of you shoving, okay? You also have to think of the dynamics of shoving and how it can leave you open for a punch as well. But that aside, either you voluntarily back up, or punches or the threat of a punch backs you up. Either the threat or /a punch backs you up, or you voluntarily back up. You cannot be shoved back, right? And if you look at the fight, Mayweather never shoved him back. So he voluntarily backed up, or the threat of a punch or punches backed up Conor McGregor, right? If Conor McGregor stood his ground, okay? If he stood his ground, Mayweather has to punch him to back him up, okay? That's just the way it is. You can't just go to a guy and just shove him, right? Without the ref saying, hey, don't do that, right? Conor could have stood his ground, and he could have tried to hold Mayweather. He could have tried to force him to come to the inside if he wants to do anything about it. But Conor was not able to do that, because Conor didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do on the inside. He had no idea. So he kept wasting all this energy doing things that would benefit him in the street. It would benefit him in an MMA fight, but it has absolutely no benefit in a boxing fight. So remember I said I have two ways to prove this? Well, the second way is Conor said it. Conor in the press conference said, I kept taking this back, and I realized I'm just wasting energy because I'm using all this energy to take this back. And then all that's happening is that the ref is telling me, stop. And then they're resetting me. And then I just wasted all that energy for nothing. See, boxing is as much about energy as it is about the actual punches that are being thrown. You have to manage your energy. Okay, some fighters have more energy than others, but if you don't know how to manage it, you're going to be lost. Once you're in deep waters, you're going to be lost. You're going to be a lost soul. Also, I believe it was around the end of round 9 and the beginning of round 10. Conor did not know what to do when he tried to hold Floyd, right? He tried to hold him, but Floyd was, he started using his wrist, right? He was using his wrist to push Conor McGregor's head back, right? And McGregor couldn't hold on. He had no grip because he has boxing gloves on. Okay, you're not able to grip with the tips of your fingers like you typically would if you were to grab somebody like that in an MMA fight. Okay, that's something else I told people, right? So he has boxing gloves on. There's no grip when he tries to hold on to somebody. That's just the strength of your arms, okay? And you're boxing. You're throwing punches. The arms are tired, right? So when Floyd he grabbed he would use his wrist, pull on McGregor's head. Now that, of course, that's not technically, and that's when I was talking about, right? The bandwidth. There's only so many times you can do that before a ref says, hey, I'm going to take away a point for that, okay? But Floyd, he saved it for the perfect time. He uses it when it's going to be beneficial to him. He doesn't start using his wrist when it's not beneficial to him, because there's only so many times the ref's going to say, hey, stop that, okay? Conor had no answer to that. And that's why he looked like a bobblehead, okay, at the end of that fight. It's just the way it is, right? So was there disruption? It was a good hypothesis, but no, there wasn't. There was no disruption. This is not disrupt boxing. Okay, it didn't even come close. Plus, you can't disrupt something with one fight. Like, and here's my other thing. This is something I told many people. And when I say this, I hope it makes sense to everybody. I really do. Okay? How do you disrupt something if you can't complete it? Like, could you imagine, whoever's listening to this, live or archive? Okay, by the way, thumbs up the video, all right? How can you disrupt marathon running if you can't complete the marathon? But for the first 8 miles, I was ahead. Imagine you run with everything you got, right? Like, I'm going to disrupt it. Like, fuck this, style of running. I'm going to run faster. You run with everything you got in the first 8 miles that you're ahead. That you're number one in the race, right? And then by the 10th mile, you run out of energy. Like, at that point, you're running extremely slow. Everybody starts passing you. And then you can't even complete the race. You reach mile, 16 and you're done. You're spent. Like, you ran out of energy. You can't even finish the marathon. How is that a disruption? No, but it was a disruption. He was winning the race the first 8 miles. Nobody passed him to the 10th mile. Yeah, he didn't even finish the race, bruh. Okay, he couldn't even finish the race. Now, how can you disrupt something when you can't even finish it? Boxing is as much about energy management, okay? And that has to do with stamina and stuff like that. You have to be able to complete it. And before somebody says he could have gone 12 rounds, that's not true. Conor himself admitted that he couldn't. In his Instagram post, when he said, he was proud of himself because he had never gone 30 minutes in any type of form of combat, but he needed more time. He didn't have enough time to kind of learn and how to, complete the race and use that energy to do it. Now, first of all, make no mistake about it. The shots that Floyd was sneaking in, those body shots, I don't even think Robin Black, or maybe he does, I don't know. But it's obvious that Conor had no idea what the fuck hit him. I don't think Conor understands that those body shots that Floyd was sneaking in on him from rounds 1 through 4, because he would hit him like, boom, he was just sneaking the body shot. I don't think he understands that took everything out of him. I think he would get hit by those shots, and he thought, well, they don't hurt. I'm fine. I don't think he realized that's the reason he got, all of a sudden he felt tired. I don't think those punches take 4 or 5 rounds down the line for them to start having an effect on you. right? I don't think, that was quite understood. Okay. I mean, this fight, in our reality, we don't even have to go that deep into it. We don't have to go that deep. It's pretty obvious what happened, right? Floyd enhanced the amount of how fast he got tired by sneaking in body shots. Conor emptied the clip. He had nothing left, and he got taken out. I mean, that's basically what happened. That there's no high level of, you know, I don't have to go into deep philosophy to kind of explain to you what happened here, right? If for example, if you look at, let's say, Broner versus Maidana, right? I could see something that happened in that fight that's very interesting. Like Maidana was throwing these big power shots to the body of Broner. Broner was doing a phenomenal job blocking those body shots. Okay. But Maidana was making it obvious. Like he was telegraphing the body shots he was throwing at Broner to the body. So Broner read it. Broner blocked it, right? And I believe it was round 2 or 3. I believe 2. Maidana started the punch the exact same way, and Broner's, brain said, okay, he's gonna go to the body again. I'm gonna block it. And by the time Maidana, when Broner's mindset body, Maidana started going up towards the head of Broner. By the time Broner realized that, it was way too late, and he got hit, he got knocked down, right? So that's a level of boxing. Even that's not that advanced, but that's something that really wasn't even necessary in this fight. Okay, like that, nothing like that to that level really happened. It was pretty obvious. I'm not going to sit here and say Conor had no success, but what I am going to say is that it was obvious as rounds 2, 3, 4 came, and how Conor was breathing in that corner. It was obvious to me anyway that Conor had no idea that the life was being sucked out of him. Conor thinks, he still believes that he was he was outboxing Floyd, and then Floyd, according to him, made 3 adjustments in the fight, right? That's what Conor believes. Like, Conor doesn't even realize that those body shots that Floyd was landing, those jabs to the body, the right hands to the body, they weren't the hardest shots in the world, but he doesn't realize that he was getting the life sucked out of him. And by the time round 4 came along, by the end of round 4, he went to that corner and he probably wondered, why the fuck am I so tired? Why am I so tired? I was doing good. I was controlling the fight, but why the fuck am I so tired? He didn't even realize that what hit him. There was a stealthiness to what Floyd was doing. Okay? And what I mean by that is, when you do something to somebody and you have no idea you're doing it, when somebody thinks you're doing something, but that's actually not what's happening, he sucked it out of him. That's why all of a sudden he was tired. And then Floyd picked up the gear. He took it to another gear all of a sudden. Like, holy shit. Conor thinks this, like, Conor's breakdown of the fight is like, I'm sorry, it's delusional. Like he says, oh, I was handling him on the outside. Again, maybe in Conor's mind, while those body shots didn't hurt, didn't do anything to me, I don't think he realized that's the reason he felt so tired after the 4th round. I don't even think he realizes that, right? And then he thinks Floyd, all of a sudden, he went from boxing to the outside to going to the ropes. Well, first of all, that makes no sense. The first thing Mayweather did was go to the ropes. That's the first thing Mayweather did. Mayweather was going forward 80% of this fight, probably more than that. He was always going forward. Now, Conor talked about, when he put the earmuffs on, okay, well, Conor didn't even know what to call it. He had to, show people. When he put his hands like this and he goes to the chest, when you put the earmuffs on and you get right in the phone booth, he didn't know what to do. And my thing is, Robin Black's talking about disruption and taking boxing to whole nother levels. Floyd Mayweather, that is getting on somebody's chest like that with the earmuffs on, okay? and putting on that type of pressure. First of all, that's not even like Mayweather's forte. Like that's not even, I'm not saying he's not good at it, but that's not his. If Floyd fought everybody like that, he would not be undefeated. Okay? He would still have a good record. He'd still be a world champion, but he would not be undefeated. I'm just making that clear. There's certain fighters Floyd would not do that against. Right? He did it in this fight because it was the right thing to do. You apply what's going to work here, right? And people think pressure is like the way Margarito would pressure, and that is pressure, right? But you can pressure somebody and tense up their body just by being right in front of them. Now, when a human being is right in front of you, okay, and you're throwing punches at them and they're still there, okay, that mentally drains you, right? And Floyd was just there, and then boom, he was sneaking the body shot, okay? It didn't. Connor's in great shape. It didn't hurt him. Also, fucking what? He hit me with a body shot, right? And I do want to give a shout out because somebody called this, by the way, and I haven't had a chance to listen to a lot of videos. I just haven't. So I don't know if he gave himself credit for this or not. Okay, but Coach Harrison called this. Okay, he did. I remember listening to a video. He said Floyd's going to be touching that body, and at first, Connor's gonna not think anything of it, but it's gonna build up, and eventually he's gonna wonder why he's so fucking tired. He did call that, so I want to give him credit for that. If he didn't pat himself in the back, I'll pat him. Okay. But basically, the Green Reaper made a visit to Connor's energy, and before Connor realized, why the fuck? Like when you're tired and you don't understand why, like, oh man, in training, I was doing 4 rounds. I didn't feel like this after 4 rounds. Why the fuck am I so? Like that runs through your mind, and doubt starts creeping into your mind. Okay, like all these things start feeding into you, with all that drains you of energy. And when you're constantly doing things, you're being told, stop, break, box. Like when you're constantly, like when you feel like home. I think Connor felt at home when he took Floyd's back. Okay, home. Like he felt like that's where he belonged. And every time the ref said break, every time the ref said stop, break, it got him away from that home, and it kept creeping up on him. And that he just felt all this energy just fading away, going away. And he talks about Floyd getting the earmuffs and getting on his chest and not knowing what to do. I got to practice with more guys like this. He said he didn't have anybody do that, and how could he not know? How could he not know that Mayweather's going to come at you that way? How could he not know that? Especially when you're southpaw. How could he not know that? And for those that don't believe, I said he was going to do that. I said he was going to go forward on Connor. He's going to back him up. But a lot of casuals laughed. Oh, Mayweather doesn't make anybody back up. Connor's a big guy. Connor's strong. Connor's a 170-pound gorilla. Like, well, that gorilla was backing up. Okay? Okay? It was backing up. The gorilla was backing up the whole fight. Okay? Floyd Mayweather was backing up that gorilla. Right? And boom, touching him to the body. Boom, touching him. You see the thing when you touch somebody to the body, pow, and it doesn't hurt them, they think, well, because Floyd would throw power shots upstairs, right? He'll throw power shots upstairs. And even if he missed, it didn't matter. What was important was that Connor was paying attention from his neck up. That's what was important, okay? And not really worried much about his body. Because when he touched somebody, like, I could take that shit. I ain't worried. I'm in great shape. He's throwing the power shots upstairs. I'm going to block the shots upstairs. You get to the body. Hit to the body. Hit to the body. It starts all of a sudden. You're like, why the fuck am I so tired? Like, what the fuck's going on here? Right? He just drained that energy out of him. Okay? And then before you know it, 2-3 rounds later, after that punch is landed, 2-3 rounds later, all of a sudden, you have a pain. All of a sudden, it's aching. Like, well, why the fuck is my stomach aching? Well, you were worked to the body 2-3 rounds ago. See, not every punch has a direct effect. Okay? See, pain is it's a very unique thing. Okay? Like sometimes, if you've ever been like, for example, especially with adrenaline, right? The thing with adrenaline, it sometimes it masks the pain, but pain's your friend. Pain lets you know you hurt somebody, but if the adrenaline's high and you don't feel that pain, the damage is still there. Like the damage hasn't gone anywhere. That's why people will like have a whiplash and the next day like their neck hurts, you know, and or sometimes like you'll fall, you feel fine, and then all of a sudden 10 minutes later, like holy shit, my arm hurts. Like that's kind of what those body shots are like. Okay, and they start contracting those muscles, and that uses up your energy, right? As there's only so much you have in a fight, and it was just drained out of them, like sucked out of them. That's what happened in this fight, and it's kind of upsetting that even boxing fans don't even realize that. Like it's kind of like, well, how could you guys not see that? There's hasn't it occurred to people that there's a reason Floyd was throwing, you know, shots upstairs with intentions, but not so much downstairs. That also give that false sense of security. Make sure Connor is not protecting the body as much, and he gets get tagged down there. That's to drain his energy. It's going to have that effect in a couple of rounds. So if you're going to have that approach, you have to have patience, and that's what Mayweather showed in the fight, right? But you have to understand that, and it's not really that deep, but once you understand what he did, then you can have a better appreciation for it. Okay, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's what he did. It's the strategy you use. Okay, a lot of people think skill is always like this. There's also like there's skill, like how well you throw a jab, how you counter a punch. That's skills, right? But there's also cerebral skills, setups, things that you reap the benefits of it 2-3 rounds down the line. It's you got to be cerebral about that. And Floyd Mayweather was very cerebral in this fight. And again, the reason I'm saying this because Robin Black, I believe anyway, he's got it twisted somehow. He's just got it like twisted in a way, and it's nothing against the guy, but I just think he's over analyzing things that should be pretty easy to explain. Like it's real simple to see what happened here. The fact that Connor kept trying to take that back and hammer fisting, that was just signs of him trying to be home. Okay, him trying to find a place where he felt comfortable. Okay, he didn't feel comfortable with Floyd right in front of him, backing him up. That's not a comfortable feeling. It's not. Right. I did want to address, because I've been hearing some things about doctors examining, they saw that McGregor potentially suffered a brain injury. Now, I don't know if he had suffered a brain injury or not. I know he could have. Okay. You see, when you are exhausted, okay, when energy is drained out of you, punches have more of an effect. Okay. Because there's less, you have less fluids on you. Okay, you are completely drained of energy. You have less oxygen in the brain. Okay, and when you have less oxygen in the brain and you're getting repeatedly hit, it could have ended very, very bad for Conor McGregor, very bad. And let me tell you something. Just because some of you guys out there, just don't want to accept that. Look, it is true that Floyd is not a big power puncher. That's absolutely true. But I don't care how light of a puncher somebody is. If they're repeatedly hitting you over and over and over again, and you are completely fatigued and you have less oxygen in your brain, that can cause serious, serious damage. Conor was facing the crowd. His head was between the first and the second ropes when Robert Byrd stopped that fight. Okay? So for anybody to say, oh, how could he have stopped it? Robert Byrd did the right thing. He did the right thing by stopping that fight. He knew what he was doing. Okay? it's a man's ego is never going to say, oh, yeah, it was a right stoppage. Of course, he's going to say, I could have recovered. I could have done this. I could have done that. Well, let me tell you something. You had a whole minute to show Robert Byrd something. You had a whole minute to show him something, and you couldn't even lift your arms. Conor McGregor couldn't even lift his arms to throw a punch in the first minute of the 10th round. What do you think was going to happen in the second minute? In the third minute? What do you think was going to happen? You know, and then what if Conor does get seriously hurt? You know, like what if that were to happen? Like if you're a Conor McGregor fan, how does that benefit you? You may never see the guy fight again. I know that's a hard pill to swallow because you don't like Floyd and you've been going around telling everybody Floyd can't punch. Floyd can't hurt him. And listen to the logic you guys use. I mean, I keep hearing this. Conor's taking shin bones to the head. He's taking knees. You know, he's taking elbows. And look, no one gets knee to the face 20 straight times. Like, is it better to get punched in the face 20 straight times and knee in the face 20 straight times? Well, of course it is, but you don't get hit by knees over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. You don't get kicked in the head over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? The fact that those are, you know, parts of the body that can strike a lot harder is almost irrelevant. The truth is this guy was getting hit over and over and over again, all right? You do know that there's been guys that have been in comas because a ref didn't do the right thing and stop it. You do know guys have died in the ring because the ref didn't do the right thing and stopped it. You see, this isn't about, you know, being a tough guy and saying, oh, I could have kept on going. And, you know, you showed the ref. If you give the ref no signs of life, the ref's going to do what he's got to do. The ref's not, his job is to stop the fight. Could you imagine he doesn't, like imagine Byrd does not stop that fight. And Floyd just lands, boom, 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 more punches, more punches. Conor goes down, right? And then they stop the fight. And then something happens to Conor. He suffers, you know, he has a fucking blood clot in the brain. It could happen. Internal injuries are worse than external. Okay, I'd rather have a cut on my eyebrow or cut on my cheek than blood clot in my fucking brain, okay? Any day of the week. Because the outside skin will heal itself. I can deal with that. But internal bleeding is not a good thing, all right? And Conor's getting hit with maximum force with a boxing glove, okay? And what you need to understand about that's maximum force. Floyd's not going to break his hands with that boxing glove. He's going to keep landing that right hand. He couldn't miss the right hand, right? You do know Robert Byrd, the commission will be in big trouble. Robert Byrd will be called in front of the commission. They will be showing him the clip and be like, what's the matter with you? Why didn't you stop that fight? And what's Robert Byrd going to say? Well, I don't know. I just figured he's an MMA guy. He's taken knees before, so I thought he could take a couple more punches. So you think they're going to accept that answer? You think they're going to accept that? They would say, look at the guy. He couldn't even lift his arms. He hadn't thrown a punch for a straight minute. And he kept getting hit over and over. Look right here. He was facing the crowd. When he was facing the crowd right there, why didn't you stop it right there? Why didn't you let him turn around, let Floyd hit him again? Why did you do that? You're out of a job. You're not a ref anymore. You're not qualified. Okay, you don't have the judgment to be a referee. All of a sudden, he's out of a fucking job. Okay, and he's known as a ref that didn't stop it, and you know it's no. If you don't show a ref a sign of life, that ref's gonna stop that fight. And he had no life. He couldn't lift his arms. And if they didn't hurt him, why did his head snap back? Your head doesn't just snap back like that if it had no effect. Okay, right now. The visual is in there. I know you've seen Conor like bleeding and, you know, and because he got hit with elbows and, you know, it caused him to bleed. And the visual of somebody bleeding all over the place. It wasn't there. I get that. The problem here was not external, it was internal. The internal damage, which is far worse. You'll never hear a story of a boxer that his life was ruined because, you know, this, that, and the third, okay? Because of an external injury. It's always internal. Not only that, did you guys not see Connor's, I believe it was his right eye, okay, how black it was, all right, and right in the orbital bone area? He could have fucked up his orbital bone. Do you guys understand how damaging that is? And how that could even affect the eye? Like that is serious damage. And most of that damage, by the way, was done in a matter of 3 minutes. From the last 2 minutes of the 9th round and the first minute of the 10th is where the majority of that damage was done. You want to give Floyd another minute? Where he's going to get even more exhausted, he's going to get even more hurt? There was no reason for it. It was a good stoppage. It was a very good stoppage. And the more and more you examine it, the more you see that, okay? It's humans, for whatever reason, especially if they don't follow boxing and they want to see, like, they think that if a guy's not bleeding all over the place, like he doesn't have a cut or something like that, like they think that there's no damage there, you know? Like if you look at De La Hoya versus Chavez, the first fight, right? The reason he stopped that fight is because the bleeding was terrible. It was getting all over his eyes. He couldn't see, so he couldn't defend himself, right? That's the reason he stopped that fight. But it didn't cause any serious damage to Chavez, right? But if you look at other fights, right? That I forgot the name of that Russian guy that fought on HBO against the Cuban. He wasn't bleeding all over the place. He wasn't like bleeding in the nose and the eyebrows and out of the mouth. Yet the dude ended up in a coma. All right, so you have to understand the dynamics here, right? Like the punches he sustained before the 9th and then what he sustained in the closing rounds there, right? And look, I was one of the people that said, yeah, I would have liked to seen him get knocked down. But then you think, well, that's why I'm not a fucking ref, okay? Because that would have been irresponsible of Robert Byrd, okay? That would have been irresponsible. If a guy is no longer defending himself, you stop that fight, okay? And that's it, right? And if you're not defending yourself intelligently anymore, the fight is stopped. That's it. Like, you know, if you're not able to defend yourself, it's over. Now, did he sustain brain injury? I don't know. Like you know, I think he would need a CAT scan for that, and you know, hopefully they do one. They should anyway. But hope, you know, I wish him the best. But he was definitely on his way to get some serious damage. He really was. All right, let's see if I can get this here. All right, I'm trying to get the video up so I can look at chat here really quick. All right, guys, make sure you thumbs up the video. Thanks to those that already thumbs it up there. All right, so anyway, that's all I really have to say, guys. I'm not able to bring up the chat, so I apologize. I have a long day ahead of me, so I'm going to be rolling out. Roll out. I'm out of here, right? This is DStyleBoxing, and then I'm out of here. Peace.